Shalom.
Shalom.
Zal Tov. As many of you know, I grew up partly in France, and I know someone from there, from my childhood, who in his early midlife went through very challenging times. He went through serious illness, and he spent time in the military, so when he approached this in his life, he fought it with that same power. And it was amazing to behold. And he took it really as a call to live the way he'd always wanted to live, and with the freedom he'd always sought. So first thing he did is he bought a motorcycle, and he took his family and drove to all the places he wanted to see with them. And then he had a job that he already found meaningful, but he had this dream of making weather vanes. And so he moved to Normandy, and he apprenticed with someone who knew what they were doing. And he set up shop and started selling them all of his weather vanes. And there he is on Facebook, doing what he loves and sharing freely about all of it, what he went through, completely free in himself. So there's this beautiful concept in the Torah this week's Torah portion. And it shows how much our tradition, our 3,500-year-old tradition, cares about freedom. And so we know the slaves left Egypt as we observe on Pesach. But that was just the beginning. And God had this plan that we're still all working on today to create a truly free and just society. So God commanded the people in the Jubilee year. And this was a really utopian idea, that every 7 times 7 years, after the 49th year, once in a generation, once in a lifetime, this would be a holy year, and no one was to sow, and no one was to harvest, and everybody returned to their families. And it was even more idealistic than that, because all of the sales of property were canceled, and everybody returned to their initial property that was apportioned by the Torah. All the sales nullified. And everybody had to just take care of each other and not wrong the other. And they said on that day, the Torah says, they would announce droch, which means release or liberty. Liberty would be sounded. They would sound the shofar. And this word droch in Hebrew is a very strange word. And the Midrash asks, well, our ancient commentary on the Torah asks, well, where does this word droch come from? And it says, well, it's close to the word for living. In modern Hebrew, dirah is an apartment. And so it says this is the word to dwell. And what does it mean to be free? It means to be able to dwell where you want to dwell. But not just outwardly, but also inwardly. So also there was the indentured servants were also released at this time of Jubilee, because there was this practice in ancient times. If you didn't have any money, then you would sell your servitude. But the Torah says you have to free everybody at this time. He says, because you are all servants to me. I freed you from Egypt. And so our tradition believes that once in a lifetime there should be 1 year where everybody would feel physically free and emotionally free and spiritually free. And even about this strange concept of giving up the land and the property you're on, the Torah says, well, who really owns the land? It's my land, says God. But there was 1 year where you were reminded that on some level we're not servants of anything. We're not servants to the hats we wear in this life. We're not servants to what takes up our days and years. We're not servants to our own limitations. We're not even servants to disease. We're servants to ultimate meaning, to love, to freedom, to the people we cherish, and to exploring our beautiful world. And sometimes we have to be reminded of that we each can find a little bit more freedom to dwell from where we want to dwell, even when sometimes the circumstances feel very limited. And it reminds us to just look for that little bit more of freedom. So Caroline, I always think of you as someone who understands this idea of trying to live by who we are, who you are, by freedom, by loving kindness and doing good deeds and pursuing dreams. And what more could we ask from Bat Mitzvah than that? So we're so joyful to all of us, this whole community, share this Shabbat with you. Shabbat Shalom.